Miami is one of many coastline cities that are currently affected by climate change and the rising sea level. The city's topography makes it easy for flooding to occur in residential areas and in developments along the water's edge. The damage these floodings cause to Miami result in costly efforts that only offer temporary solutions. The current infrastructure of Miami is not suitable for what it awaits in the upcoming years. Miami's subsurface utilities cannot be sustained when the water will eventually inundate those resources, and current efforts to mitigate flooding do not allow for adaptability. Let's start by examining the current conditions of Miami. Situated in southeast Florida, Miami is against the Atlantic Ocean and is comprised of many diverse and culturally rich districts. We will be focusing on Brickell, the business district in Miami just south of the downtown area and across the Miami River. Here we will examine the existing infrastructure, like its transit options, roads, and the built environment. Adjacent to the inland Brickell neighborhood is the Brickell Key. Initially, there were two smaller islands branching off of the Miami River, but after buying bay bottom land to connect the two, real estate developer Edward Clawson created a man made luxury island community and business hub that people enjoy today. However, these destination areas are at risk of disappearing. Miami's infrastructure is extensive and complex, but its public works can be broken down into the following categories: infrastructure, engineering, sanitation, and green space management. First, we will focus on the city's infrastructural components.
Infrastructure is defined as the organizational structures and facilities needed for the operation of a society or enterprise. This includes things like buildings, roads, and power supplies. Miami has gone through many changes in the past 20 years, from moving their utilities underground to the creation of major vehicular arteries and parks. Miami's public transportation includes trolley, Metrobus, Metro Rail, Metro Mover, as well as alternative travelings like biking through Miami's City Bike program, Water Taxi, and Freebie, which is an all electric car sharing program. Below the Metro Mover, which travels throughout the downtown area, Brickell, and Arts and Entertainment District, the underline is a county owned urban trail to activate the spaces below the elevated rail. The city's roadway grid is oriented to serve the coastline, directing traffic through central Miami. In this map, wider lines illustrate frequently traveled roads. We can see the coastal roadways are less congested than the inland streets, and traffic is denser downtown. After the hurricanes of 2005 and 2007, Miami's utilities, such as power lines, were moved below ground to prevent frequent outages. However, this has been a slow process, and in the last 10 years, Florida has led the nation in the most power outages per year. Hurricanes, storms, and floodings are major causes of power outages in the city. As floodings worsen, Miami has begun major changes to the streetscape, including raising roadways by a minimum of 2 feet and implementing new drainage systems to collect excess stormwater. These changes have been made under Miami's current stormwater management plan. The Top Miami Trail, also known as the U.S. Route 44, is a 260-mile-long highway that cuts through the Everglades National Park to connect Miami and Tampa. Built on a swampy and grassy terrain, this engineering feat was built on land that continuously experiences wet and dry periods. This trail caused ecological changes and shrunk the already slow-moving river in the area. But recent conservation efforts to raise the roadway are slated to be completed in 2024 to allow for better drainage, water flow, and water quality.
Miami has plenty of sanitary pumping stations throughout the city, 7 of which are in the Brickell neighborhood. These are necessary in places where the black water in the sewer has a hard time traveling up the pipes from a low to high elevation. From the map, we can tell that these are mostly placed along the Miami River and near the ocean where the elevation dips slightly. In denser areas, some of these stations are concealed inside of high rises or other buildings. Miami also has about 120,000 septic tanks, which filter black water and neutralize waste on site in residential and commercial buildings. In this process, water is pulled from the building and down into tank number 1, which allows the waste to settle at the bottom of the tank called sludge. The uppermost layer consists of fats and other oils called scum. In the middle, bacteria consume the waste in the water. As flushing continues to bring water into the first tank, the water that has gone through part 1 of the cleansing process is pushed into tank 2. The second container follows the same process. this time with cleaner water, and the water is eventually released into the ground. The issue with septic tanks is that flooding disrupts this cycle, causing backups into people's homes and businesses, inciting leaks that cause black water to infiltrate clean groundwater, and provokes algae blooms from phosphorus or nitrogen imbalances. In response, Miami implemented the Connect to Protect initiative, which helps replace faulty septic tanks in high risk flood zones to connect homes to the main sewer lines. 11 pump stations and more pipelines have been added to incorporate more buildings into the sewer system. It is projected that in the next 20 years, the usual 7.5% of septic tank failures will increase to a little over 11%, an additional 4,500 tanks. As of July of 2023, all on-site sewage treatments must be nutrient reduced. Check to Protect is a program to ensure regular maintenance of these septic systems. Solid waste is collected on 2 days each week, and pickups vary depending on the zip code. A GIS tool helps locals determine when garbage and recycling pickups occur. Gas, electric, and aftermath services are commonly located on the north side of Brickell, as to service downtown Miami in times of crisis. Although power outages are uncommon and likely need frequent upkeep, power lines are otherwise maintained every 3 years. In the event of a natural disaster or extreme storm, Miami has hotlines to report outages. During a power outage, locals report to the Florida Power and Light Company, and a response team will be immediately deployed. In extreme or dangerous weather, Floridians can call the emergency response line. This system does not have contingencies for those without access to the internet by means other than electricity. The Green Space Management Division is broken into 2 parts: the Contracted Landscape Maintenance Administration and Operations. The first oversees the work of landscape contractors that do work throughout the city, whereas the latter focuses on maintaining key areas in the city and fixing landscape emergencies. Miami also enforces watering restrictions. For instance, there's a program that financially incentivizes people to use more updated irrigation systems to conserve water. Irrigation schedules are also set in place. Odd addresses can water their lawns Wednesdays and Saturdays. Even addresses get Thursdays and Sundays. The watering windows are before 10 a.m. and after 4 p.m. and can only water once that day. There are also further watering restrictions based on square footage of green space. However, what will happen to these green spaces if they are all underwater? What will natural recreational spaces look like in a flooded city?
With the increase in flooding, the city of Miami has begun developing a 40-year mitigation plan. This plan would focus on data collection, stormwater modeling, sea level rise evaluation, and most importantly, CIP. CIP stands for Capital Improvement Program. CIP's goals are to maximize catchment of runoff on the existing uphill land, install systems that direct stormwater into the ground, add new pumping stations, add force mains and injection wells, install backflow preventers in the stormwater outfalls, and install coastal armoring with new or raised seawalls. This would be paired with improvements catered to each individual neighborhood.
The infrastructure in place does not adapt to the climate changes we are expecting in the next century. Coastal cities must drastically alter their infrastructure and start the planning process, as incremental changes will not be enough. For now, the city of Miami is only buying time.